Hello, in this recording we will be reviewing medical terminology suffixes. A suffix is a letter or group of letters added to the end of a word that changes the meaning. When defining a medical term, the suffix will make the root word more specific. In using a suffix, the medical term will be the first part of the word and the suffix will be the last part of the word. That makes the root word more specific. There may be additional letters needed to properly form a word, but the addition should not change the word's meaning. We will cover examples of this concept in the following slides. Now let's explore what a suffix can indicate. A suffix can indicate a specialty. For example, an oncologist. An oncologist is a cancer specialist. This medical term uses the suffix logist, which means specialist who studies and treats. Another example would be pediatrics. Pediatrics utilizes the suffix iatrics, which indicates the medical specialty. We have modified ped, which indicates children, and specified that this is a medical specialty involving the care and treatment of children. Another example is orthopedics. Orthopedics is the study and treatment of the skeleton and joints. Much like the pediatrics example, which added IATR before the suffix, the ICS of orthopedics indicates medical specialty. Pediatrics and orthopedics use the same suffix, but letters were added to ensure that the root word is modified properly without changing the meaning. A suffix can also indicate tests and procedures. For example, graph or graphy means recording instrument. An example of graph being used in a medical term is mammograph. Mammograph is the machine that takes X-ray photographs of the breast. Another example would be the suffix otomy, which means cut in or surgical incision. Used as a medical term example, this might be laparotomy, which means a surgery to get into the abdominal cavity by making an incision in the abdominal wall. Another example would be ectomy, which means removal of, as in appendectomy, which is the removal of the appendix. Another example is scopy, which means visual examination. A medical term example would be endoscopy, which indicates a procedure done to examine structures inside the body up close. Finally, another example is gram, which means image or record. An example of this suffix can be found in the word electrocardiogram, which is a non-invasive test that measures and records the heart's electrical activity. A suffix can also indicate a pathology or function. For example, emia is a suffix meaning blood. An example is anemia. That medical term means a condition that develops when your blood produces a lower than normal amount of healthy red blood cells. Another example is penia, which means deficiency. A medical term example would be osteopenia, which means a decrease in bone mineral density below normal reference values. Itis is another common suffix in medical terminology and means inflammation. Arthritis means inflammation or swelling of one or more joints. Another example would be the suffix rrhag, which means excessive flow, as in hemorrhage, which is an escape of blood from a ruptured blood vessel, especially when profuse, used in a sentence as a massive hemorrhage of the brain. Another suffix example for pathology and function is oma, O-M-A, which means mass or tumor. An example is lipoma, meaning a benign non-cancerous tumor made of fat cells. Another suffix example is pnea, meaning breath or respiration. A medical term using that suffix example is apnea. The definition of apnea is when you stop breathing while sleeping or have almost no airflow. Finally, the last example is pathy, which means disease. Neuropathy is a medical term using that suffix pathy, where neuropathy indicates disease or damage to the nerves that are located outside of the brain and spinal cord. Remember, if you are able to break down the medical term by the word parts, you will be able to determine what that word means.